couple seconds. Then we're gonna go ahead and get started. What's going on? What's going on, man? You watching Politics is War. We're about to go ahead and get started. I am your host, B. Ellington. A couple days before Thanksgiving. Looking at YouTube right now, these are sample-free beats by ARVP Beats. The Vault One. If y'all haven't subscribed, make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all share. But definitely make sure y'all subscribe. Don't matter what platform you're on right now. Every day we do this show, we make enemies and friends. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, man. We're going to go ahead and jump into some topics, and it should be an interesting segment tonight. For shits and giggles, let's go ahead and start with Campbell's. Now, before I play this, let me make sure I get it loaded up. Before I play this, I pulled up this old website. Now, if you go to housemo.gov, you can pull up old members' websites, legislation, etc. So I had to go through some old bills that I found. I started in 2019, but by 2019, I was extremely serious with legislation and DOJ issues. But in 2013, I filed these two bills. HB 244 requires all food or food products sold in Missouri that are derived from cloned animals to be labeled, indicating that the food is or contains product derived from cloned animals, right? HB 245, I filed this again in 2013. Requires all food and food products sold in Missouri that are contain genetically modified products to be labeled, indicating that the food is or contains genetically modified products. Now, again, I filed this in 2013. Everybody thought I was crazy, right? Some of the legislation that I filed, or some of the issues that I talk about, people think I'm just making it up, coming out of left field. But then we see this. Rant. Let me go back. This is the CEO of Campbell's rant. And preface the video because I just go to the rant. The videos was actually recorded by an employee that was seeking a raise and some other benefits. So this is a recording that is going through court right now, and this is supposedly the CEO.
Filled rant.
Bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
Now I'm going to read it for those that couldn't actually hear it all the way just because it's a recording. I don't buy that effing Campbell's products barely anymore. It's unhealthy. Now that I know what the F is in it, you can eat bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of shit. Fucking, I don't know what that word was. A piece of chicken that came from a 3D printed. Now, again, I filed these bills in 2013. And I only bring this up to say that as we go through Politics is War, regardless of how outrageous some of the issues may sound, they're all real. And on this broadcast, when we're doing it live, we try to make sure that we pair it with videos. And again, the two bills that I was talking about from 2013 will be HB 244, requires all food or food products sold in Missouri that are derived from cloned animals to be labeled, and HB 245 requires all food and food products sold in Missouri that are contain genetically modified materials, right? And I didn't have co-signers from Kansas City at all. And I only said that to make sure y'all know who y'all elected, man. Make sure y'all elect visionaries that are paying attention, because when you don't elect visionaries that are paying attention, you get all type of chaos. And the chaos that I would like to start with is the potential insurrection. So last show, what's going on, man? It's my dope Floyd, man. Last time we started talking about the 6 senators that came out with a commercial. And in the commercial, they were saying that you don't have to follow illegal orders. And I somewhat made a joke out of the conversation. I somewhat made a joke out of the commercial, but in the subsequent days, we see that that is no longer a joke. For those that haven't been paying attention and only been following the Epstein's files, let me take you back.
98.
Now this is a vote
On this
on the
vote,
House
the
floor.
yeas are 285 and the nays are 98, with 2 answering present. The concurrent resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
All right, now what this is right here, and I found this interesting.
Consider is laid on the table.
Obviously, no debate, no conversation. I do have a slight formal debate, but this is the House votes to denounce socialism. Again, this is 2025 going into 2026. What would make this slightly interesting? Now, this is one of our
My blood pressure's up right now. I cannot believe just what I heard on the House floor. The ranking member of this distinguished committee denouncing Trump, but will not denounce socialism on the House floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. History is clear. Socialism kills people. It leads to deaths of tens of millions, crushes religious liberty, and destroys free markets. Our founders built this nation on a revolutionary idea that individual liberty and not government control is the source of human achievement. They understood that when the government owns the economy, they soon seek to own the people. I hope people who are watching right now.
I want y'all to catch that, because sometimes people say things that they don't even know what they're saying, and we're gonna get into this. But I want y'all to catch this.
The people. I hope people who are watching right now. They soon seek to own the people. I hope that control is a source of human achievement. They understood that when the government owns the economy, they soon seek to own the people. I hope people who are watching right now on C-SPAN or on the news get what's going on in this body today. This side is against socialism.
All right. So what actually is socialism for those that don't know? Let's do a quick search. Socialism is a political and economic system characterized by the collective or government ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. Which is interesting, because don't we have a 50-year mortgage that's being pushed by the administration? And don't we have government-owned housing? I'm not talking about HUD that's being pushed. But anyway, what's socialism? Production or distribution of goods with a goal of greater social and economic equity. It originated in response to social problems associated with capitalism and includes a wide range of theories. Interesting. Socialism is an economic and political philosophy encompassing diverse economic and social systems characterized by ownership of means of production as opposed to private ownership. Now I'm on Wikipedia. It describes the economic, political, and social theories and movements associated with the implementation of systems. Social ownership can take various forms, including public, community, collective, cooperatives. Interesting. And again, as y'all got questions, I definitely will answer them. If I miss them, I get back to them in the comments. Thank you. Yeah, make sure that y'all share. Make sure that y'all support. So again, that was our Congressman Mark Alderman talking about socialism on the floor. But it's interesting when you actually look at what actually socialism looks like.
Who owns the media? You tell me.
It's a few companies now.
That's right.
And everything's getting consolidated. It's becoming smaller and smaller. And it's fewer and fewer people.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right. So what my understanding is, you have 6 large international conglomerates, media conglomerates, that control about 90% of what the American people see, hear, and read. All right. So look, take a look. Talk about.
I wonder if this is why the only news that we hear about is the pedophile island. And again, not dismissing those that were victims of the pedophile island, but in the legislation, it states that the attorney generals of the state can redact information related to child pornography. The Speaker of the House argument is that child pornography isn't explicitly defined. But as we go through these videos, we're going to see legislation and executive orders that's being passed. And I wonder if Bernie is on to something, why you guys don't see this in the media.
But oligarchy. Mr. Musk, is that all he does is make electric vehicles? Not quite. He owns Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what about Mr. Bezos? Well, he owns the Washington Post, which is a very influential newspaper, and he owns Twitch. What about the Ellison family? Well, they just bought Paramount, which happens to own CBS movie. All right. And then you got Mr. Zuckerberg, of course, who owns Meta, which controls Facebook and Instagram. So you have 4 of the wealthiest guys in America owning us, just those. Not to mention Rupert Murdoch, obviously owns Fox, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, right-wing newspapers all over the world.
I always find it funny when people hear that and they still don't believe that it's only a small handful of families that control the information that's getting out. And if it's only a small handful of families that control the information that's getting out, we should be extremely concerned with the level of attention that nonsense is receiving. Let me go to an old tweet as I'm proving these points from Elon Musk, right? We just heard about Elon Musk, owner X. This is from August 10th, 2024. I find Elon interesting when you actually listen to his comments. You watched the Hunger Games and sided with the resistance. You watched Star Wars and sided with the resistance. You watched The Matrix and sided with the resistance. You watched Divergent and sided with the resistance. You watched V for Vendetta and sided with the resistance. When it's fiction, you understand, yet you refuse to see it when it's reality, reality you're living in. Wow. That's from Elon Musk, man. And I find that interesting. I find that extremely interesting because we've had 6 congressional members targeted for mortgage fraud, right? We've had...
Tonight, the criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey is in serious doubt after a stunning admission in court by President Trump's hand-picked prosecutor. Lindsay Halligan has never tried a criminal case. Today, the judge put her on the spot, and she...
Now, I'm going to play this video slow, because I actually need y'all to pay attention to this. Notice it says she's never tried a criminal case, right?
Lindsay Halligan has never tried a criminal case. Today, the judge put her on the spot, and she admitted she did not show the full grand jury the final version of the indictment before the 4 persons signed it. The disclosure shocked the courtroom into silence. Comey and his family began whispering, and his attorney called for the case to be thrown out. Trump installed Halligan after he forced out her predecessor, who determined...
Now, I'm going to go to the end of this, right?
It is effectively an admission that this is a political prosecution. But today, prosecutors insisted Halligan brought the case on her own, telling the judge Ms. Halligan was not a puppet. The judge is now weighing the act.
Okay. So it's evidence that wasn't admitted to the grand jury. Now, in Missouri, I actually tried to get rid of the grand jury. Just put my last name in and put grand jury, and I'm quite sure you're going to find it. But that's not my point. My point is, I think this is it.
Lindsay Callaghan was legally appointed, and that's the administration's position. I know there was a judge who was clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsay Callaghan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly,
All right. That's the reason I played it. So you got two things. I'm going to break it down slow for those that are missing it. Going back to Elon. Elon's tweet. You watched the Hunger Games, you sided with the resistance. You watched Star Wars and sided with the resistance. You watched The Matrix and sided with the resistance. You watched Divergent and sided with the resistance. V for Vendetta and sided with the resistance. But when it's fiction, you understand that you refuse to see when you living in it, right? So you have a special prosecutor that was put in place by the Trump administration. Special prosecutor, by her own admission, neglected, for whatever reason, to disclose information to the grand jury and get an indictment. The reason you convene a grand jury is to give an abundance of evidence so you can guarantee to get an indictment, right? Because the grand jury isn't a necessity in a criminal proceeding. But a grand jury is typically used by a prosecutor. So why is that important in this case? It's important in this case because two things has happened. You had a special prosecutor placed by the Trump administration that did some shady shit. And as opposed to acknowledging that, they only talk about her legitimacy of being placed in the appeal for, again, going after Comey and Ms. James. And in Ms. James' case, we've already seen prosecutors after prosecutors resign. Why are they resigning? Why is Margaret Taylor Greene, I think I just messed up her name, why she resign? Wasn't she like the ultimate Karen to carry the mega flag? But now she's out. She's out the door. People aren't paying attention to the underlying sentiment. But I said we was going to talk about the insidious six and how serious it's getting. So let me go to...
Sure, we'll be taking all available legal action, including an immediate appeal, to hold Letitia James and James Comey accountable for their unlawful conduct.
That's one, right? For their unlawful conduct.
Anything like that. So now they're going to feign outrage because Donald Trump responded to their words that do yield to insurrection? Please. Stop. No. And this is where I'm going to push back. Because what they are doing is trying to throw literally a grenade into the room. It goes off. And then they're going to claim outrage? They have no moral standing to claim outrage because they decided that they were going to be cute and put out a TikTok video trying to get likes, trying to demonstrate that they're tough enough to stand up to President Trump when Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief, not Mr. Crow, not Senator Slotkin. They are not the commander-in-chief. And like I said before, they would not tolerate any Republican launching any video like that when Barack Obama was president of the United States. You know.
We're going to finish his comments because he actually has some interesting stuff. But how much leverage is what he's saying valid currently right now? Right? So again, going back to the courts, you have a special prosecutor that has admitted to not putting what they want to put in there as far as the truth. And the administration appealing that to guarantee that their prosecution goes through. You have 6 senators, one in particular that is a ex-astronaut and military vet. And you have words that could be utilized for treason. Listen to his comments, though. And again, this is where Byron Davis.
know it's true. I know it's true.
I mean,
Everybody knows
Byron
it's true.
Donalds,
But now they
too.
want to feign outrage and have everybody come and ask them how they feel. Man, stop. We're tired of the games and the charade. The American people are looking for real answers on energy, on immigration, on affordability, but they want to be cute. So yeah, I'm not going to give them any standing about, well, how do they feel? That's BS. They knew what they were doing. They created a political stunt to get a response. But they didn't like the response.
In terms of what the president
I'm gonna go to the end because the end is the most important. They asked about the consequences.
Violation of our constitutional republic.
Right.
I will grant you, this is a foolish political stunt created by people who are trying to get their name ID up, who are trying to demonstrate that somehow they're the standard bearers for our constitutional republic when their own words are in violation of our constitutional republic. You cannot have elected members. I don't care about your politics. This is not even a political deal anymore. You cannot have elected members tell our military men and women, tell the members of our intelligence community that you don't have to follow orders from the commander-in-chief. That is nuts. And as people who actually put the uniform on and served, investigated by the ethics committee, and we'll see what the results of the ethics committee.
forward to Corey Mills and Sheila Schiffel as McCormick.
Right.
Where are you in both of those cases? What do you think about both?
As I said right now, but the allegations are terrible. They're going to be investigated.
So you have congressional members that are standing on the fact that the law needs to be followed. And the law in this case would institute death, right? But people still think it's a joke. So let me go to my man, and I'm hitting him because you have to follow beyond the bouncing ball. So you have military members that's elected to Congress too. This is one of the members that was in the commercial. Now, what makes it interesting is the legality of how they're going after him. Director Hexel Pete is rumored that he may actually reactivate this guy so they can court-martial, because you have freedom of speech, but as elected officials you are bound by certain obligations of the office. Not saying they violated that, but as military members you have a different set of laws. And it's funny how they're possibly about to utilize a loophole in the law to make an example. And what would actually happen? Let's listen.
Thank you for having me on, Rachel.
Let me first just get your response to this threat from the Defense Department saying that they are investigating you. They may potentially recall you to.
And it's not the Department of Defense, it's the Department of War. I just want to make sure we put accurate information on it.
Active duty to face a court martial.
Well, Rachel, I said something that was pretty simple and non-controversial, and that was that members of the military should follow the law. And in response to that, Donald Trump said I should be executed. I should be hanged. I should be prosecuted. He even went on and said something about go get them. I guess sending a mob to round me and the other folks up. So
now they've already, I'm gonna get down to it. They've already started possibly creating a congressional hearing around this. Let me find it real quick before I even talk about it. Let me see. I don't see it off the top, so I'll come back to it. Y'all know I don't like to take too much time looking for anything. So I'm gonna come back to it. And just because I couldn't find it, I'm gonna go all the way left, because I've often talked about how I can get along with rednecks, but I don't think this cat can get along with rednecks, right? And the problem is, I actually agree with him somewhat.
The reason I came to the floor tonight is to say to my colleagues, pretty please, with sugar on top, I'll even add a cheers.
Just a little bit.
I'll even throw in a coupon for a personal pan pizza. Please, let's do another reconciliation bill. And when I say we, I'm saying the Republican
Now this
majority.
gets political
Let's invite
here.
our Democratic colleagues to join with us. And I hope after inviting them, I sincerely hope they'll take us up on it. But if they don't, and they don't have to, it's a free country, it only takes a majority to pass the reconciliation bill. And after we do the second one, we can do a third one before the midterms. If we do not take advantage of this
That's
opportunity
the part
to
almost.
lower the cost of living for the American people, for reconciliation, when we only need 51 votes to do it.
Now it's funny because they didn't blow up the economy, and they didn't blow up healthcare, and all type of shit that's actually gonna hit in 2026, right? And now they're pleading with their colleagues to actually start doing something because you have the midterm elections coming up. But as we stated prior, I don't think the midterms is as severe as people think. Because I'm gonna play him, and I'm gonna hope I can get to my banning real quick. And this hopefully will prove that point.
Individuals that work for Donald Trump believe that they're immune, that they're untouchable. But today, with this hearing led by the Oversight Committee, led by Ranking Member Garcia, we're telling them that you might think you're safe, but we're going to come after you. If you violated the law, threw somebody down, don't think it ends when Donald Trump is out of office. This will not end until we hold every single person that violated the Constitution and the rights of people in our communities accountable.
Now, that sounds tough, but for those that have been staying with us and following us, remember a couple weeks ago, I played a random clip of Bannon, and Bannon was stating to a lot of Donald Trump's supporters that if they did lose the 2026 midterms, and I'm looking for that clip as I talk, if they do lose the 2026 midterms, a lot of their members could potentially go to jail. And if they could not allow that to happen, y'all remember him saying that? Y'all remember him saying that, they potentially could go to jail and they could not allow that to happen? Where's that clip at? I'm looking for it. And he also stated the other alternatives to the extension of Trump's term beyond the midterm elections, regardless. I think this is it. Let's see.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and long.
All right, and that's not the one I'm looking for. The one I'm looking for, he's actually standing up, talking to a bunch of Trump members in a meeting. But that would do for right now, because again, I don't like to look for something too long. I keep going down until I find it. But he's standing up in front of members. So as we're playing, watching the bouncing ball, we have Reconstruction across the board.
When Egypt and other countries in the Middle East label the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorists and ban them, shouldn't we pay attention to that and say, well, if they don't like them and they know them better than anyone, why would it be controversial here?
It should not be. Right?
Exactly. And Egypt enacted that ban in 2013. No one knows better than Egypt's President al-Sisi just how dangerous the Muslim Brotherhood can be. And what we see going on with this executive order is a 45-day period for state and treasury to start looking into the various chapters. And I like seeing,
this should be interesting. That should be interesting, right? That should definitely be interesting.
We
defining the crime of sedition. Okay, I don't. That is a factual statement. But obviously, attorneys have to parse the language and determine all that. What I will say unequivocally, is that was a wildly inappropriate thing for so-called leaders in Congress to do, to encourage young troops to disobey orders. I mean, think of what the threat that is to our national security and what it means to our institutions. We have got to raise the bar in Congress. This is out of control and is wildly inappropriate. And for a senator like Mark Kelly or any member of Congress in the House or Senate to be engaging in that kind of talk is to me just so beyond the pale.
So yeah, he lies so crazy.
He lies.
All right, but it's a joke.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene? Well, forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history. This, stupid person, and they're bashing. And I could go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned.
I don't know how many videos I gotta show y'all to get y'all to pay attention. Last week we showed y'all the vice president's funeral, in which the president, the vice president, another administration was invited. We played the ex-vice president's comments, right, where he said that Trump was the most, I'm talking about Dick Cheney, was the most dangerous thing to democracy. But you know the most dangerous thing to women's strength training is? Watch the black lady. Watch the face. All right. I wasn't even gonna play that clip, but when I seen her face, I had to. Right. I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna turn it off. So this was the world's strongest woman. Now this has already been allegedly fixed, but the lady here is actually a man. Lady there is actually second place. Apparently, after they found out she was a man, they supposed to have redone that. But that was something that just happened today. And again, I wasn't going to play that clip, but when I seen her face, I had to. It was hilarious. Almost as hilarious
Remember
as
this a few days ago, Democrats said, there's no Antifa, it's just an idea. Well, the grand jury in Dallas disagrees. Just about 5 minutes ago, the grand jury handed up an indictment saying that a cell of 11 Antifa members in North Texas were behind a very...
Now again, for those that have been following along, we went through the definition of Antifa. And it's funny that now they have organized cells that are being arrested. And we did this maybe about a month ago. The definition of Antifa can range from creating flyers to giving aid, right, to talking about issues. But all of this is a joke. While in New Orleans, they getting dirty.
Confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the
it ain't playing right. And I found
confirmation.
this one, it may not play right, but you can hear her voice. I don't know why it's not playing right. But I found this one extremely interesting, what they did and how they did it. And we had a suggestion for Kansas City, right?
Confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the consent decree, but along the way I have preferred to use the term that we've graduated. We have taken back our own ownership of our agency. To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law. And so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt and our community is not in danger.
All right, so let me stop that. So a few days ago, we had a suggestion for the mayor. And he hasn't responded back to my Facebook post. I tagged him in and I know he sees my shit. But the suggestion was that they pass an ordinance on a local level, basically saying that the local municipality would not support or work with any agency that can identify itself. In Kansas City, there would be a small barrier with PD. PD will fall up underneath the police board. So the local municipalities would be all the local agencies from fire to water department, public works, and everything that falls up underneath that. For the police board, you have to go to the police board, but it can be done dualistically. In New Orleans, though, what I found interesting and it's somewhat confusing because law enforcement is supposed to engage with criminal acts, but they're taking the stand that civil enforcement or immigration enforcement is outside of their preview, right? So they're not going to do anything with that. They're just going to make sure the citizens are safe. And I'll play that one more time because it's a very interesting
confirmation from the judge that we are formally out of the consent decree, but along the way I have preferred to use the term that we've graduated. We have taken back our own ownership of our agency. To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law, and so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt. And
which again is interesting because in civil disputes, law enforcement will show up. For those that understand the law, they know that it's a barrier for law enforcement. For those that don't, they typically disclose more information than what they should. But my whole point is, is that Elon possibly was right, and I don't say that much. You watched the Hunger Games and sided with the Resistance. You watched Star Wars and sided with the Resistance. You watched The Matrix and sided with the Resistance. And I'm not saying Elon is favorable for the Resistance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that he puts out interesting quotes for those that are not in the 1 and 10% that you think they would actually pay attention to, right? But this is what we care about.
Find out a lot about a lot of folks because you know what else is in this bill that just passed tonight? It's got to be a searchable database. So any American can go in and read the files for themselves.
Oh my!
That's how it should be. I'm looking forward to seeing what's there. We're going to find out a lot about.
Oh my! They passed a searchable database on the Epstein's files. That is so great. It'd be better if we had searchable, easy, accessible databases, not only to law, but governmental funding. You know, stuff that is actually passed from the government that is not secret. That would actually be a great piece of legislation to be on there smiling about, talking about we created an access portal. But fuck that. Who cares about the American people having access to public dollars that are passed? We want you guys to pay attention to the pedophiles. Because why are you paying attention to the pedophiles? The Supreme Court is hearing real shit.
So strongest presumption of validity.
I just don't understand this argument. It's not an article. It's a congressional power, not a presidential power to tax. And you want to say tariffs are not taxes, but that's exactly what they are. They're generating money from American citizens, revenue. And you say it's incidental to the regulatory.
Let me stop this, and I'm gonna come back to this one. This is extremely technical. I was a soldier, and real soldiers aren't fools. Remember, a king has a court, and in his court is a fool, no soldiers. Trump is crippled. Watch him fall. Don't necessarily disagree with you. You're seeing separation across the board, right? Back in September, we played this general right here. And this general, when we played this, I didn't realize how significant his stance was until we started to see fallout from the Department of War. Where is he at? I believe he was in, I don't want to say the wrong state, because last time I said Ohio, and it wasn't Ohio. Where is he at? But anyway, he's the one that was sitting in front of a committee, and he stated that his troops were not going to harass protesters, and they was going to protect both citizens. Here he is, citizens and protesters.
The defense they're trained upon, and I will provide my advice to the Title X commander that Oregon National Guard men and women are
they serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so by serving this mission, they will be protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. They're trained upon.
So I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But the issue that we're seeing right now, and that's what makes the senators and congressional people interesting, and the Jones case interesting, and the Comedy case interesting, is that we're seeing the restructuring of the law with the congressional members. They had a commercial. The commercial stated that you don't have to follow illegal orders, right? But with Senator Mark Kelly, he's not only an elected official, he's a former astronaut and military personnel. So if he is court-martialed, because they could do that underneath the Department of War, the last 2 or 3 days you heard the 5 or 6 members laugh at the proposed Congressional Ethics Committee hearing. So this would be a way to actually enhance it and hit it with the law. So I don't disagree with you, but I think what we're seeing across the board is again redesign and siding up. And I think the majority of people are siding up late. I think the majority of people aren't fully paying attention, right? So we have.
We're here in St. Louis with Director Kash Patel. He and I talked very early on, even during the confirmation process, of fighting violent crime here in St. Louis. He's been so great. We have the largest infusion of permanent FBI agents in the country per capita now in St. Louis. We're glad he's here. He's going to brief everybody about what's going on.
Senator, thanks so much for having us here in Missouri. And the Senator's right. Fighting violent crime is one of the top priorities for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. When you have great elected leadership like the Senator we do here in Missouri.
And I'm about to prove a point. Watch this. Siding up, going back to military. So we got Senator Smith with our DOJ director, but we have our DOJ director also possibly about to be what?
We're coming back for some brand new breaking news. MS Now has just learned that FBI Director Kash Patel may be out of a job in the coming months. 3 people with knowledge of the situation say President Trump and his top aides have grown tired of Patel and the unflattering headlines he's been generating recently, including using a government jet to visit his girlfriend and enlisting a SWAT team as her security detail.
No, that's not new. The government jet and the SWAT team wouldn't be nothing new, but that's what they're about to get them off of right now. So why did I play that? Why did I play that going off the comment about soldiers and we're not stupid and siding up? You're seeing a split, if you're paying attention to the federal government, from senators like Ron Paul, and he's always been outside of the Republican tent per se, but you're seeing senators that are vehemently objecting to war powers that are being used. While that's happening, you're seeing senators being targeted for talking out. The states that you have the National Guards and the ICE agents in, you're seeing fundamental rules of engagement and authority changing daily. With our Attorney General, you're seeing the rule of law objectively implemented, even when the rule of law has been found to be out of law, going back to the special prosecutor in the Comey case, right? But again, the only thing that we're paying attention is to the bouncing ball. The Supreme Court currently is hearing issues, and I'm not going to play that one because that clip is actually long and it's hard to follow, but you can pull it up. The Supreme Court is currently hearing a case about tariffs, whether tariffs are taxes or not. And the argument would be is that it's being implemented on the foreign government, so it's not a tax, but it's being increased on the citizens here, so it is a tax. This is fundamental rule changing of rules of engagement. And then you have congressional members, going back to Donald and a few other ones, that are talking about the very real possibility of following the law. So it wouldn't be Trump executing nobody. Talking about executing nobody. That's what the fucking law is. Right?
The EPA is starting to allow the use of pesticides containing PFAS on food. It's part of an effort to roll back the regulation of what are called forever chemicals because they don't break down easily in the environment. Last week, the agency approved the use of 2 new pesticides that qualify as PFAS. It means that farmers could spread them on crops like romaine lettuce, broccoli, and potatoes. The Washington Post is reporting that agency plans to approve 4 more pesticides.
I mean, come on, people, man. It's time to stop being stupid. It's time to stop being partisan. It's time to stop falling in cul-de-sacs. It's time to stop following the bouncing ball. Legislation is real. When we're talking about fundamental changes to what's allowable in food production, what's allowable in consumer production, and we at our hour, so I'm about to go ahead and get off. I do want to kind of get into this one, but I think we're going to save this, but I will preface it.
Wake-up call to all Americans, however. Over the weekend, the president calling Minnesota a hub of fraudulent activity and ending protected status for Somalis living in Minnesota after a new study by independent journalist Chris Rufo exposed a spectacular Somali fraud ring stealing millions and tens of millions of dollars from Medicaid and sending that money back to the motherland to support their friends, their families, or to just outright fund terror.
I wonder what policy is about to come in. I wonder. So again, thank y'all, man, for watching Politics is War. We're gonna continue to go through clips and show what is really happening, while people are only talking about the same nonsense. But follow along with the insidious acts, because this is breaking down to be extremely interesting, extremely with Senator Mark Kelly. And if I do miss comments, I definitely will make sure I try to get back at them. Kansas City knows is actually easy. For those that are watching worldwide, I'm in Jackson County, Kansas City. I'll run through that real quick. It shouldn't take me nothing but a minute. The mayor said crime is down, but anybody living in the city knows that's bullshit. We had a couple more murders. There's one murder that just happened that I believe the individuals were charged with assault for. And a lot of people are upset about that. I'm not going to get into too many of the details about that murder because I don't know, and I know the prosecutor's office is claiming that they're still working on other charges, other enhanced charges. So again, with some of the murders I won't talk about, just because most murders that happen in the city, until it's a hearing, it's a work in progress. And if I don't know the details, I don't know the details, but I do know crime isn't down. I made the comment, and the lady commented on my post, and she was like, most businesses aren't reporting no more, so they aren't considered a nuisance. And I was like, damn. I didn't think of that. And you're right. I remember vividly being on the council, and we have crime reports and all this good stuff. Easier example would be the market downtown that is called the police. And from calling the police, they got hit with being a nuisance. And now they're about to be closed because, they was calling on people that was doing drugs and shit like that outside of business. Why mayor not doing anything? In which regards? Are you talking about crime? Or are you talking about ordinances like we've seen in New Orleans, in which the city is taking a stance that civil immigration is a civil issue and not theirs? Or are you talking in relation to creating protections for the citizens? Or are you talking about in relation to program funding crime? I can tell you from my standpoint of when I stood on the council, When I was on the council, the mayor favored all of the antiquated programs that we had here, whether that was Aim for Peace or Ad Hoc or any other organizations that had no metrics for absolving the issue. And I'm not talking about workers on the ground and Aim for Peace. I'm talking about the administration and the actual stratagem for going after crime. When it came to the police department and trying to implement policies, he will often refer to the gap in authority from the city council, but he will fail to mention and acknowledge the fact that he sits on the police board and he can actually make a motion on the police board. So I would say the reason, from my opinion, that he isn't doing anything on crime is because it actually takes concern, work, and caring, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty to go after organizations that have antiquated funding and cut that funding and open up that funding for programmable services with metrics. It's not pretty to go after law enforcement and say that we're not going to support uh, uh, unengaged institution like we have right now, and we're going to promote a more community policing model, which would take actually going after the police union, because that goes after raises and the structure of the police department, and community policing and enforcement model is two completely different models. So I would say there's a lot of reasons that the mayor doesn't really talk about crime or go after crime, but the majority of that would be the benefactors of our crime dollars. So I'm gonna be a little off on these dollars, but in the last 6 or 7 years, you've seen millions. I believe and again, I'm gonna be off on this name because they come up with cute ass names all the time. The what is it, symposium, or the what was that shit called where they're supposed to create all the crime organizations together, and they came up with $160,000. I mean, $160 million. I don't know. I have to ask Councilman Parks because she came up with that idea. There was a whole bunch of crime organizations, but also there's a whole bunch of reasons why he's not doing anything on crime. And it's easier to take pictures in front of stadiums and shit, and to talk tough in front of gas stations on 35th and Prospect than it is to follow up with those issues on 35th and Prospect. And I can keep going, but I don't want to just dump on Q. But you ain't seen nothing from him as far as legislation that would benefit or reduce criminal activity. The same with our organizations. And again, I'm not talking about people on the ground, but we spend a shit ton of money on crime organizations that do nothing. They do nothing. I talked about the murder that happened over here, and I got a flyer on my door. It does nothing. You have to be engaged. When I was on the council, we created a officer citizen engagement. You're not going to see anything from that. The officer citizen engagement was supposed to be responsible for redirecting crime dollars to nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations, etc. If you look at the neighborhood departments, you'll see that most of their enforcement agencies are now officers called community enforcement officers or something like that. That was a relation to that. And I only said that to say that we believe in creating functionable apparatuses to engage the community, so the community can not only have natural watchers but natural investments. Without that, you're not going to have a reduction in crime. You're going to have a ciphering and push out of crime. I mean, it's going to hit surrounding areas. If you live in Kansas City, you're seeing murders in the Northland, downtown, east side, right? West side. You're seeing murders in areas that you haven't seen murders in. And it's probably going to get worse as the economy gets worse because there is no fallout infrastructure. The same with the homeless resources. But if y'all have topics that y'all want me to do specifically in Kansas City, let me know. For crime, I can come up with a show where we actually go through the ordinances that was passed for crime down here and the allocations of dollars. I have no issue doing that. Just kind of let me know what y'all want me to dial into on a local level. What else do we have going on a local level besides murders? we have the lawsuit in Westport. Again, I was on the council, so some things I may or may not be able to talk about because it's confidentiality agreements and all that good stuff. But anybody that's involved in the lawsuit on Westport, I encourage y'all to go through the neighborhoods committee when I was on the council and go through my Facebook page because I used to cut video from committee. And I do remember vividly talking about some of the racial issues that was happening down in Westport, from the privatization of the streets to the civil rights guards, which falls back to ad hoc, the training of the civil rights guards, the enforcement of civil rights violations. This actually goes back to your question about crime. Let's see, what else am I missing? And again, I don't want to be on here too long because we try to keep these to an hour. What else we got going on in Kansas City? Kansas City, you have the revolving property tax issue. You really won't see anything about this until the beginning of the year, just because of the cycle that we're in Jackson County and Kansas City. You're going to see a lot of downtime until the end of the year. After January, though, we will be in an election cycle for the next 2 years here. So you'll have city council elections coming up. You have county elections, 3 years. You have city council elections coming up. You have county elections coming up. You will have congressional elections coming up, state house, and then state senate coming up. And we're going to be heavily involved in all of those. And you'll also have legislation that should start being filed. So I will be doing more Jackson County and Kansas City issue-related shows as soon as we start having legislation come out. The same with deals. Currently, right now, they're talking about investments in the Country Club Plaza, but until I see the ordinance, there's no point of actually going through it because we don't actually know what money's coming in. They're talking about January. Let me see. 2020, 2016, 2020. They're talking about issues down there, and they're also talking about the property value. So there's more to come with that. In 2024, the plaza was sold for $175 million. And again, with the plaza deal, you had a lot of city involvement. I don't believe in local governments playing developers with developers. I believe in ownership. If you own something, you should be able to develop it, not necessarily the city getting engaged with who wins and who loses. And I think you're going to see a lot of investments potentially come into the plaza in a different capacity than what we've seen in the past. Because in the past, we haven't actually seen Kansas City invest in the plaza like, let's say, 18th and Vine. But when that started happening, I think it's going to shock a lot of people. So with that, again, man, thank y'all for watching Politics is War. We'll be back on this week. If y'all have specific local issues that y'all want me to hit, tag me in them, let me know, and we'll do dedicated shows to them, whether that's crime, whether that's funding, infrastructure, different development. But remember, on local politics, you're talking about a cycle, and a lot of times they come up with issues, and then they come back with the issues because it's repeat funding, right? And I don't have a problem breaking that down. I just kind of bypass it sometimes because I know it's a cycle. So again, let me know. Again, thank y'all for watching. Subscribe, share. Let's get it.